So yeah, you can come down right now. You've got another half an hour or so to enjoy Old Clementine, and we'll have another musical nooner for you next Wednesday here at the CBC. So come on down and see us then. It is 12:37 now here on BC Today. Well, with many Canadians leaning into the elbows up movement, some artists are wondering if that can translate into the arts and entertainment. And BC is a hub for the arts, but we also know many artists here struggle with things like cost or studio space. Now, today, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has just announced that it's increasing the BC Arts Council to more than $40 million in 2025 and 2026. So it's just announced that more than 1,300 artists and arts groups in BC have received about $37 million in grants through the BC Arts Council in 2024. And the province says that helps to bring their work to life and strengthens community connections. Okay, we're asking you right now, does Elbows Up apply to arts and entertainment for you? Have you taken to supporting more Canadian arts and entertainment amid the Elbows Up movement? And how do you think we can support artists in BC? Is there a favorite one for you that you'd like to shout out to? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your phone or email us bctoday@cbc.ca or just comment on our TikTok live as well. I'm joined by two guests right now. Here in studio with me is Jilian Tolzmann, an actor, writer, and director. Hello, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And joining us on Zoom is Heather Laura Gray, who's an Emmy Award-winning choreographer. Heather, thanks so much for being with us.
Such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, when you hear Elbows Up, Jilian, what does that mean to you as an actor, as a writer, director? Does it apply?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way I've always looked at my career coming in, especially in Vancouver with our film industry, we're in a unique place where a lot of productions come shoot here, but we don't have very many TV shows that are actually set in Vancouver. We're often telling American stories, pretending we're New York, which is really exciting to see how people transform our city. But it was always interesting going into my career, being curious about, okay, well, what opportunities are there for me here as an artist, not just serving American Hollywood productions coming in, but can I generate my own work? So I've always had that mindset of let's elevate Canadian stories. So then when I saw the Elbows Up movement happening, it made me really excited because I thought, okay, finally, we're heading in this direction where we're talking about, yes, we love everyone internationally we're supporting, but also how can we elevate our own people? And I think the arts really is the center of that.
Wow. And what about for you, Heather, as a choreographer, what does Elbows Up mean to you?
Well, I definitely agree with what Jillian said. And, you know, for me, it's about elbows up is like making room for ourselves that in this market, this is the beauty of, you know, where we're at right now with Hollywood. I mean, there's so much now being made internationally. It's no longer just one location.
Right.
There are many people trying to get work, you know, in Canada from LA, and you know, I get emails and calls all the time of like, is there any chance I can get some work? So we are definitely in a great place to start to really build our own foundation and yeah, exactly, tell Canadian stories and not feel like it's less than, or it's empowering. This Elbows Up is like, we're making room for, like, we have so much to offer. We have had a lot of us who have worked on American shows have incredible training. Like, we're great, craft people.
Yeah.
You know?
And I can almost see you choreographing a dance right now with the elbows up. Like, take it away from hockey. Yeah. Well, and you're a picture of success yourself, right? Like you've won an Emmy Award. You've worked on shows like big show, Monster High, Riverdale. You worked with Jojo Siwa, who my daughter would be excited about that. Like, these are all U.S. based. So what's that like for you? What's it been like growing your career? You're able to stay here, but having these productions come from the States.
Yeah, I mean, it's something new. I mean, in the past, it would never have happened, because usually with larger projects, they would bring their key person, if it was a musical or whatever, from LA. And they still do. But I think there was so much that happened with the pandemic, and trying to make a lot happen during that time. And even before, there was just more opportunity for consideration for somebody locally that they believe that we have the talent, and they'll look at us as collaborators. So I got those opportunities. I worked so hard to just make sure that I had the skill set and could support what they were asking. And bit by bit over time, I was granted more and more, opportunity to really be collaborating with, directors like John Ridley, who won an Academy Award for 12 Years a
Yes.
Slave, and working with that level of talent. So that's an amazing, opportunity that you would never, plan for. But at the same time, it would be so wonderful to have our own people that we're building on that level, because so many of us that are on that level go to the US
Right.
because it's a bigger market.
Yeah, well, there's that as well, isn't it? Isn't it? I want to ask you about that. Like, what keeps you here, and how can we keep you here? But Jillian, what does it take to get a Canadian project off the ground?
Yeah, it's really challenging. I mean, I'm approaching it from the student producer perspective. So there are grants and stuff you can apply for. I found, because like grant funding is a very challenging thing, and often you need one person just committed to grant funding, because that's the whole process there, is I would often see if I had any leftover money from scholarships and stuff for my schooling that I could maybe
Oh my
shoot some
goodness.
money over with,
Yeah.
which does make money really tight,
Yeah, you're
especially living in
cobbling things
Vancouver.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with our cost of living, which, affects everyone, but artists especially, because not only are we running our artistic career, which is more than a full-time job, but we also often need day jobs, which you'll hear people talk about. But what I do often is, because I also work in marketing, because there's my day job.
Yep.
So I am able to coordinate sponsorships with local companies. And, it's tough with the economy. It's definitely harder the past few years compared to pre-COVID, because everyone's shorter of what resources they can give. But I find a lot of in-kind sponsorships where people are like, oh, we're going to lend you our camera, or we're going to provide catering. That's a really great way we can give people exposure, and they can provide us with assets we need without giving us money. So yeah, that's been the main way I've sponsored my projects, and that's the way you get it off the ground. And then once you've developed your career, you can go pitch to various theaters and stuff to see like, hey, will you put on my production, or, eventually some networks. But there isn't really ways to fund Canadian film in Canada other than Telefund and those other grant programs. It's very hard to get like big network attention to get like a union show going.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you get to that point? Because yes, we've just heard about this announcement, funding for the BC Arts Council. But how do you get to a point where, people listening might say the arts need to be able to sustain themselves, right? They need to have enough of an audience so that the projects are paying for themselves and are lucrative.
For sure. I mean, that's why, like, personally, I find it easier to have my story told in theater versus in film. Because the thing is, with a film, like, you have to pay all your upfront costs, and to monetize a film in Canada is pretty tricky, because you either have to find, okay, are we giving it to a streaming service, or getting a distributor to coordinate that? And that's very challenging. As a Canadian, there's really not much space for that. Or you find a network to distribute it. But even with a distributor for an independent Canadian project to get money back, like, you're lucky if you even recoup any of your costs. Whereas for theater, if we sell out, we can sometimes make money back. It really depends how many grants we had, how much money we had to put in. But, there's a lot more return value on ticket sales, because then you have a tangible thing you're selling versus a film, which is interesting because people always think film makes more money than theater.
Yeah.
And I mean, in terms, if we're looking at union wages, yes. But if we're looking at, I have a project and I'm trying to monetize this product,
Yeah.
it's not always like that.
I am learning so much. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. We are taking your calls as well. So if you're watching or listening, you can call us and let us know, do you think the Elbows Up movement needs to also apply to the arts and entertainment? And how can we better support Canadian arts? Is there a musician or an artist or a filmmaker that you would like to shout out to as well? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone, or email bctoday@cbc.ca, or just comment on our TikTok live as well. And my guests are Jilian Tolzmann, a multi-disciplinary artist, an actor, writer, and director. Heather Laura Gray is an Emmy award-winning choreographer. And so Heather, when you hear that, what support do you think is needed so that you can use all the skills and talent that you have toward a Canadian-made project?
Yeah, that's fabulous news to hear what the BC Arts Council like the progress I think that will come from that will be massive. Because I loved reading that it's about infrastructure, because what we have in place doesn't necessarily support what the outcome. So, culturally too, for us, I mean, I'm saying like Canadians, like we're definitely online a lot more. There's a lot more, to actually get people to come out and see live work. It's like, how do we engage our audience? And that's content. But that doesn't necessarily have to be, some people get, really worried about, well, then everything's just going to be commercialized and we're just going to have fluffy arts. And it's like, no, we need to have a place or a way to engage our audiences in both that art and entertainment way for whoever and whatever they're looking for. But if it's not built into a family dynamic, right, of like, we're going to go see something live. We're going to go, and if they can't afford it, right? And if they can't, so there's this whole kind of infrastructure that is kind of supporting, I would say, like the inability to really engage a lot with arts, which you can see in other countries that it's a lot more developed. So that being said, it's like I've worked also in contemporary dance and live theater and seen that support network really just not having enough to be able to get to people. You can create the work, but you can't actually connect. There's nothing saying like, hey, come to this,
Right.
wonderful work that you get to explore live and direct. So, but in terms of me like creating, film work and whatnot, and collaborating with in film and television, yeah, it really does require. I love the elbows up movement because it requires us to really say, Canadians to say, hey, I'm willing to invest in you. Like Jillian was saying, I'm going to give you a camera. I'm going to give you, it's about investing in our people so that they can rise to that place. What unfortunately we've been very used to, especially being like, Hollywood North, is everyone's used to the dollars. So if we don't have like equity investors, people that have a lot of money who are interested in really developing film that is amazing and top notch for Canada, we're kind of stuck in that American system of distribution and
Right.
and support. So
Yeah, and staffing.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's really, I think it's exciting. It's really exciting, but I think it's about us understanding the investment in our people, the person, the artist that is actually pulling everybody up the mountain to create something not ever actually been seen yet. And
I,
there's producers like the producers that have done like The Witch, and I think they did The Apprentice. That the Canadian companies that are getting there, they're really doing that work.
you
So
know,
it's happening.
when you talk about that infrastructure, I heard that a lot during the Hollywood writers' strike. The fact that we do provide the supporting cast, if you will, when it comes to these productions. How do we move forward on that and to create that infrastructure? So there's that investment, and there's a fandom as well that gets people out to see the performances.
For sure. Well, that really resonates with
Yes.
my approach for marketing because I always say, you have to build your community and have your people following you, not just trying to attract customers, but loyal supporters. And I really love what you were saying about the infrastructure because I think that's so key. And what I found is the theater industry has been really supportive in my artistic development in the sense there's workshops and programs and mentorships in place. Because yes, I'm getting my post-secondary education, but having these opportunities where I can go get mentored by people who are actually working. And not only am I getting free training, but sometimes they'll even offer an honorarium, so I will get paid. That way I don't have to go do a day job during that period of time. I can just focus on whatever I'm learning. And I think more programs like that are huge because we need to have people trained for cast, crew, and making sure we have talented people. That way, when a big concert comes to town, we actually have crew here. If people can't afford to be living here as these like different crew jobs and stuff, when a concert comes to town, you're not going to have quality trained people to put on a show. Or same for your music festival, same for the fireworks, all these things. Like, it's not just about us putting on musicals or creating films. It's also about having infrastructure to make Vancouver an interesting and fun place.
It's amazing to hear about the tentacles of it, like just how much it permeates all these other things as well. As you say now, Jillian, you were just talking about the support from the theater community. We have Daniel calling us from Vancouver who would like to talk about the Vancouver Fringe Festival on Vancouver Island, or just the Vancouver Fringe Festival. Daniel, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to plug the September Vancouver Fringe Festival. It's a great place for local artists as
Yeah.
well as artists from across Canada and internationally. And it's mostly one or two person shows, but also larger production.
Absolutely. And yes, of course, on Granville Island. I was a little bit confused because I saw island. So I thought, does that mean Vancouver Island? But of course, Vancouver Fringe Festival is so well known here in Vancouver. And so yourself, how are you involved?
I've got a show in the September Festival. It's a musical theater production, and it's set on a balcony of a cafe by Granville Island, outdoor balcony.
Yeah. And what do you think of what's needed to continue this tradition of the Vancouver Fringe Fest, Daniel?
Well, the big thing is to expand the outreach of the festival. One of the things they're doing this year is having a kids program.
Right,
So
yes.
the Fringe is kind of known for being, very edgy, and sometimes the language is a bit intense. But the Fringe has a lot of different stuff and appeals to all ages and all tastes, really. And so this year they're doing like 4 to 12. They're asking artists if their show is suitable for 4 to 12, and so that more kids can come in and see the Fringe. And when they become teenagers or young adults, they'll keep coming to the Fringe and maybe start doing their own shows, because the Fringe is like a starting place for young aspiring actors. If anybody saw the musical Sixth in Vancouver, which is a fabulous musical, that started at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Wow. Daniel, thanks very much for the call. Really cool and interesting to hear about, expanding the audience to kids. What are your thoughts on that?
So I volunteer at the Fringe Festival, so it was really exciting to hear someone bring that up. I just want to say, we're talking about like, can you provide money? Can you provide sponsorships to artists? But I know a lot of people are strapped for cash right now. So the other really amazing way you can help artists is by volunteering at local theaters or arts festivals, including the Fringe. And that is an awesome way you can go support these shows, seeing them for free without having to pay, because you are giving your time instead. And that's a huge help because they have a huge volunteer team. And then, the Fringe is a really exciting opportunity because it gives artists an opportunity to try things out without having to have a big theater backing them up. Last year, it's interesting that they're trying to plug more kid-friendly content this year, because last year, I think it was Best Audience Choice. It was done by a show done by some of my friends called Camp Gone Away. And it was this cool summer camp show. And really, it was for all ages. Like, I really enjoyed it. But it was one of the few kid-friendly shows that the festival had. So it's really exciting to see that they saw that success and are now bringing it forward.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Heather? What went through your mind listening to Daniel there?
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's like, the thing about, we're talking about, edgy versus children versus
Right.
at this point, like our audiences, I don't want to say it's silos, but we have a lot of people who have different taste, right? Because of the internet, everything's been developed. Everyone's kind of developing in different areas.
Yes.
Of like what they are drawn to. So I think that that's also part of the equation, right? Is variety, obviously within how, artists are expressing. We're just making sure. And I think that that's what we're seeing with the BC Arts Council is really making sure that there's a diverse support for all types of art making. Yeah.
Before we go, I want to ask you both, we've been talking about the infrastructure here, and we're called Hollywood North because of it. But how do we make sure that what happens so often is that people leave and go down to the machine that is Hollywood. So what is needed, and basically what's keeping you here? What needs to continue and happen to ensure that that artists like yourselves stay in BC? Why don't we start with you, Jillian?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing you can do is just go see Canadian shows, whether you're going to see Canadian independent films at film festivals or you're going to see theater productions. Just go be a patron, buy a ticket. Or if that's not accessible to you, volunteer, and then you can get complimentary tickets and then also be giving your time to the theater. So that's really the best way to do it. But then also, if there's any companies watching that are looking to get a bit more exposure, look for artists to partner with. Because some of my sponsors, I always do my outreach. I write my cover letters saying, hey, we're doing this project. Here's an exposure opportunity for you. But some of my biggest sponsors I got just because they saw my Instagram posts and reached out to me. So it can go both ways.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
Instagram posts, they can go a long way. And what about for yourself, Heather? What do we need to do to keep you here?
I think it's about that infrastructure and finding the ways that we can actually see from start to finish a successful project that will actually financially either be an entertainment with film be a success or like we're saying with the arts. But it's really for me it's a combination of two things. It's I want to I'm not going to be like emotionally and mentally well living in LA. That's just not going to be, that's not for me. So I had to find that. And I remember feeling young when I was younger. I moved to Toronto and worked there, and it was such a fantastic experience to be there for 5 years. But it was that or LA. And my instincts were like, that's not the place for me. And it took me a while to be okay with that. So many people would try and do that. Oh, you're not from LA, like, or you didn't go to LA, it was very much a like something negative, right? And now it feels so great to be like, oh, I fought to stay here and figure it out. And, bit by bit, I was getting more and more support. But I think, yes, I'm working primarily more with the American projects. I would just love to see more of us, getting together, having these conversations, even about, and about what is necessary, and also having more people who are in the inside, up in those positions that we don't really
Make
understand.
those decisions. I'm going to jump in.
Exactly.
Thanks so much to both of you. What a great discussion. Really good to have you.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Jilian
Thank you.
Jilian Tolzmann and Heather Laura Gray. And thanks so much to Daniel, who gave us a call as well.